Live reading Alice in Wonderland. I'm your host and narrator, Nathan Hicks. As you can probably see, because I've chosen not to, and we'll leave it at that. I also am not reading from a hard copy of Hello. Okay, I believe my mic and everything. I did as many tests before as I could, but, you know. Tech from a hard copy, because A, I didn't have one, B, C, save the trees. So, we'll be using this. Also, my connection says it's being unstable. Yeah, we'll see how that's going to go. In any case, Joel start chapter 1 is and by Lewis Carroll. And it comes as follows. All in the golden afternoon, for leisurely we glide, for both our old, while little hands make vain pretense, our wanderings to ah, cruel three, in such an hour beneath such drenched feather. Yet what can one poor voice avail? I never know whether to respond to the comments made or to check if you guys have told me, hey, I can't see you or such. So occasional pauses are required. Imperious Prima flashes forth her edict to begin it. In gentler tone, Secunda hopes there will be no nonsense in it, while Tertia interrupts on to sudden silence one. In fancy they pursue the dream child moving through a land of wonders wild and new. In friendly chat with be drained the wells of fancy dry, and faintly strove that weary one to put the subject by. The rest, next time, is next. Through the tale of Wonderland, the slowly one by one. Its quaint events were hammered out, and now the tale is done. And home Alice, a childish story take, and with a gentle hand lay it where child's twine bands plucked in a far-off land. Chapter 1. Down the rabbit hole. On the bank, and of having nothing to do, twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading. But it had no pictures or conversations, thought Alice. Without pictures or as she could, for the hot day made her a white rabbit with pink eyes ran her. Nor did Alice think it so very much out of the way to hear the rabbit say to itself, oh dear, I shall be late, when she thought it over afterwards. But at the time it all seemed quite natural. The rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket and looked at it, and then hurried on. Her mind that she had never before seen a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket or a watch to take out of it, and burning with curiosity, she ran a large rabbit hole under the hedge. In another moment, down went Alice after it, never once considering how in the world she was to get out again. then dipped suddenly down, so suddenly that Alice had not a moment to think about stopping herself before she found herself falling down what seemed to be a very the well and noticed why that they were filled with cupboards and bookshelves. She saw took down a jar from one of the shelves as she passed. It was labeled orange marmalade. But to her great disappointment, it was empty. She did not like to drop the jar into one of the cupboards as she fell past it. Thought Alice to herself, after such a fall as this, I shall think nothing of tumbling down. Why, I wouldn't say anything about it, even if I fell house. Which was very likely true. Down, down, come to an end. I wonder how many miles I've fallen by, she said aloud. I must be getting somewhere near the center of the earth. For you see, Alice had learnt several things of this sort in her lessons in the schoolroom, and though this was not a very good opportunity for showing off her knowledge, as there was no. Yes, that's about the right distance. But then I wonder what latitude or longitude I've got to. Alice not the but she thought they were nice, grand words to say. Presently she began again. I wonder if I shall fall right through the earth. How it's the antipathies, I think. She was rather glad there was no one listening, this time, as it didn't sound at all the right word. But I shall have to ask them is this New Zealand or Australia? And she tried to curtsy as she spoke. Fancy, curtsying as you're falling through the air. Do you think she'll thank me for asking? No, it'll never do to ask. Perhaps I shall see it written up somewhere. Down, down, down. Dinah will miss me very much tonight, I should think. Dinah was the cat. I hope they'll remember her saucer of milk at tea time. Dust in the air, I'm afraid, but you might catch a bat. And that's very like a mouse, you know. But do cats eat bats? I wonder. And here Alice began in a dreamy sort of way. Do cats eat bats? Do cats eat bats? And sometimes, do bats eat cats? You see the way she put it. She felt that she was dozing off and had just begun to dream that she was walking hand in hand with Dinah and was saying to her very earnestly, now suddenly, thump, thump, down she came upon a heap of sticks and dry leaves, and the fall was over. Alice was in a moment. She looked up, but it was all dark overhead. Before her was another long and the white rabbit was still in sight when Alice liked the wind, and was just in time to hear it say as the corner, Oh, my ears and whiskers, how late it's getting! She was close behind it when she turned the corner but the hall, which was lit up by a row of lamps hanging from the roof. There were doors all around the hall, but they were all locked, and when she walked sadly down the middle, wondering how she was ever to get in. Suddenly she came upon a little three-legged table, tiny golden key, and Alice's first idea was that this might belong to one of the doors of the hall, but alas, not open any of them. However, around she came upon a low curtain she had not noticed before, and behind it was a high. She tried the little golden key in the light. It fitted. Alice opened the door and found that it led into a small passage. Down and looked along the passage into the loveliest garden you among those she could not even get her head through the doorway. And even if my head would go through, thought poor Alice, it would be of very little use without my shoulders. I think I could, if only I knew how to begin. For so many out-of-the-way things had happened lately that Alice had begun to think that very few things seemed to be no use in waiting by the little door, so she went a book. She found a little bottle on it, which was a paper label with the word on it in large letters. It was all very well to say, "Drink me," but the wise little Alice was not going to do that in a hurry. And see whether it's marked poison or not. For she had read several nice little stories about children who had got burnt and eaten up by wild beasts, or the simple rules their friends had taught them, such as that a red-hot poker will burn you if you hold it too long, and that if you cut your finger very deeply with a knife, it usually bleeds. If you drink much from a bottle marked poison, it is almost certain to disagree with you, sooner or later. How this ventured to taste it and finding it very nice. It had, in fact, a sort of mixed flavor of cherry tart, custard, pineapple, roast turkey, and finished it off. "What a curious feeling," said Alice. "I must be shutting up like a telescope." And so it was indeed, brightened up at the thought that she was now the right size for going through the little door into that lovely garden. First, however, she waited for a few minutes, a little nervous, for "It might end, you know," said Alice to herself, "in my going out altogether, like a candle." I wanted to fancy what the flame of a candle looks like after the candle is blown out, for she could not remember ever having seen such a thing. After a while, finding nothing, but alas, for poor Alice, when she got to the door, she found she had forgotten the little golden key. And when she went back to the table, she found it quite plainly through the glass, and she tried her best to climb up one of the legs of the table, but it was too slippery. And when she had tired herself out with trying, the poor little thing sat. "Come, there's no use in crying like that," said Alice to herself rather sharply. "I advise you to leave off this minute." She generally gave herself very good, and sometimes she scolded herself so severely as to bring tears into her eyes. And once she remembered trying to box her own ear and cheated herself in a game of croquet she was playing of pretending to be two people. "But it's no use now," thought poor Alice, "to pretend to be two people. Why, there's hardly enough of me left to make." Her eye fell on a little glass box that was lying under the table. She opened it and found in it a very small cake marked in currants. "Well, I'll eat," said Alice, "and if it makes me grow larger, I can reach the key. So either way, I'll get into the garden, and I don't care which happens." She ate a little bit and said anxiously, her hand on the top of her head to feel which way it was growing, and she was surprised to find that she remained the same size. To be sure, this is what generally expecting nothing but out-of-the-way things to happen, that it seemed quite dull and stupid for life to go on in the common way. That is the end of chapter 1, and it went quite quicker, folks, unless you say in the comments. I think I'll continue with my hearing. Speak now or forever hold your peace. I do what I want. Chapter 2. "Yes, sir," cried Alice. She was so much surprised that for the moment she quite forgot how to speak English. "Now I'm opening